If you're like me and you've already collected all of the released fighters, I think it's time for you to check out some custom fighters.
Today we have the king from the game of chess. Okay guys, today's is a very, very fun one. A creator by the name of Masquelein here reached out in the comments and asked me to review a couple of their decks, and after looking through their list of the decks they've made, I found my absolute favorite here called the King. Yes, this is a very cool one because usually I do like IP decks or sometimes based on like folklore characters or something like that. But this one is from another game, not even like a character from a game, but specifically a piece from another game, the King. So as you can already tell here, the miniature that I grabbed is actually just a king piece from a plastic set of chess that I didn't really care if I was missing the king from. So you can grab some fancy king or whatever piece you'd like to use. It's very fun that you can just use a piece that you already have. But I didn't grab the actual pawns. I wanted to keep those more in line with Unmatched here. So I have these little token pieces. I didn't print anything on the back this time. We have our black and white pawns here. And you'll see throughout the deck, I did a little bit of tweaking when it comes to some of the art things. Because I absolutely love the black and whiteness of chess. Just two solid colors, so I kind of helped with the theming on that one here. So for the toga, it is just a white piece here with the black outline of the pawn. And then we'll get 8 of those, which we can look at that in just a second here. But I also wanted to take a look at the health there, and another one that I created for his deck here. Just this black and white design. I'm very, very proud of this one if you can't tell. Absolutely loved how this turned out. It's just absolutely beautiful. That is our health dial here. Let's spoil that he's 12 health. But yeah, let's get into the deck here and check out what our character card here says. Starting with the King, this is a melee fighter with 12 health and a move of 1. Also love that it's a move of 1. I am just ecstatic with all the different ones. We only have one official move 1 fighter. We have a couple 2s and a couple 3s. But you can actually kind of afford, now I think about it, to get a 4 for the move, but this is adding another move 1 fighter. We also have our pawns here, also melee fighters, and we get 8 of them. What's interesting about these guys, unlike Squirrel Girl, another character that has 8 sidekick, these, unlike Squirrel Girl, start on the board. So 4 of them will fill up the zone that he starts in, and then you'll pick another zone next to it. There is a rules card that comes with this. I actually forgot to print it off, but I'll kind of go over what it says in just a second, but we can take a look at the hero ability here. This is En Passant. The only reason I know how to pronounce that is from Hearthstone, because I heard this noise
En Passant
way more many times than I wanted to, and it is stuck in my brain forever. This says, once per your opponent's turn, if any opposing fighter moves next to any spaces containing a pawn, he takes 1 damage. So just like the pawn, you know, if you get in the range that they can capture you, you're taking that 1 damage. So very, very cool. It's kind of scary because you are making a wall around your king with these, 1 health pawns that are just dealing that 1 damage. But I do like that he capped that 1 damage per turn. But yeah, so with the extra rules card, one thing that it does say, on top of that, you will have the 4 pawns that you will place in the same zone as the king, but also the other 4 pawns that will go in an adjacent zone. They all 4 have to in that adjacent zone. This is what that extra rules cards look like. But it also says that you will have a starting, like an opening hand that is 5 cards that you will add to your deck before the game starts. And there's actually 3 of those options, so we can go over those together. Starting here with the Ruy Lopez Opening. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I will also warn you, I'm not a big chess aficionado. Definitely like the game, but I'm such a casual at it. But this is the Ruy Lopez Opening, and this specifically the fast castling. So you kind of see that every single one here that says Ruy Lopez. This is the fast castling card, which is a defensive 5 for the king with a boost of 3 and 2 copies. And this is immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card, so a feint, but with a 5 and not a versatile. After combat, you may move the king up to 2 spaces. So definitely a very good, like, get out of there, which I believe is fast castling is whenever you swap the king and the castle. So it's pretty thematic that you are getting the king out of the way, not taking any damage, hopefully, and also moving away from, whatever attacker is coming. You get 2 of those. And then next here for the Ruy Lopez Opening is Indirect Bishop's Pressure. This is a scheme for the king, 3 boosts, 3 copies. And this is deal 2 damage to any sidekick in the opposing hero's zone, draw 1 card. So it replaces itself, doesn't give you another action, but it's literally just targeting any sidekick there and dealing damage to him. Obviously with the higher health totals, it's nice to chip that away, but if they're low health, like 1 or 2, this just gets rid of them. So definitely with Yananga, it's great to get rid of those things. You'll get 3 of those. Those are our 5 cards here for the Ruy Lopez Opening, so potentially adding these 5 cards to your deck. Or our second option here is going to be the Scotch Opening. And this is break the opposing structure. And so this one focuses more on the pawns here with an attack of 3 for the pawns, 2 boost, 3 copies. This is after combat, deal 1 damage to the opposing fighter. Place all your opponent's fighters in any spaces in separate zones, if possible, and gain 1 action. So break the structure. So you're dealing 1 damage to the opposing fighter, then you take all of your opponent's fighters and place them in separate zones, of course, if possible, and gain an action. So definitely fun for breaking up a strategy. So your character's their fighter is hiding behind a wall of sidekicks, you can just push them all to different parts of the board, or if they're just about to apply pressure on the king, you can just break them up really fast. So definitely another fun strategy if you want this kind of gameplay with your king here. And then also in the Scotch opening, we have pawns over control. And you will notice here that these are all pawn cards. The other opening there was all king cards. So definitely changes how you might play, which I believe that you get to choose which of these openings you get to pick after seeing your opponent. So definitely very fun if it was ever in like a tournament setting. This is a pawns card with 3 attack, 2 boost, 2 copies. And this is pawns over control. After combat, you may place all your pawns in any empty spaces. So kind of a fun yin and yang there, where this is all moving your opponent's fighters, and this is all moving your fighters. And that is the Scotch opening, our second option. And our third and final option, which is the one that I feel like I will be picking most often because of this first card here. And this is the Scholar Mates opening. This is Strong Queen Attack Order. This is the King's card with 8 attack. Yes, a whopping 8 attack with 3 boost and only 1 copy. And this is effects of this card cannot be canceled. You may play this card as a ranged attack. I always love when they do that kind of stuff where it's a melee fighter, but you get to play this as a range of, obviously face up to do attack. And this is after combat, your opponent may look at your hand and choose 1 card to discard it. So I love that. It's a big, huge 8 attack. It changes your melee fighter into a ranged attack. So your opponent might be, kind of hiding in the corner, like, oh, I'm about to lose, and you can whip this card out. It's huge, big 8 card. They can't cancel it, so you have to get that downside where they get to choose a very, very good card from your hand and get rid of it. I love these kind of cards. I only get 1 of those. So also in the Scholar Mates opening, this is Fastest Checkmate. This is an any card with 3 versatile, 2 boost, 2 copies. This is after combat, search your deck for 1 checkmate card, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Your opponent may draw up to 2 cards. So very cool. There's going to be a card in there called Checkmate, I believe. Yeah, it's on the next cards here. So you'll see your card called Checkmate in there. This is just getting that card as fast as possible. But with that super, super high upside, your opponent gets to draw up to 2 cards if it's a good thing for them. So I love these kind of cards where you get a huge upside, but kind of deciding whether or not your opponent's going to want that too. And then next here is a scheme card for the king, 2 boost, 2 copies. This is Scholar Mates opening, Bishop and Queen combined move orders. And this is deal 2 damage to the opponent's hero. Discard 1 random card. So very cool. Once again, this is like kind of surprise attack cards, where this one you can attack from way, way far away. And then this one is you just literally choose him. Hey, you're the hero, you take 2 damage. And you can potentially do that twice, so 4. So if the opposing hero is at 4 health and you have these 2 cards, boom, boom, he's dead. I love this Scholar's opening. So that's our 3 options. So once again, just to recap, you will be grabbing those 5 cards and shuffling into your deck and then starting the game that way. Now we look into the actual deck here. We kind of skimmed over it, but this is the card back that I ended up designing for this deck. It very much matches the black and whiteness of the hero card here, the black and whiteness of the pawns, and then also the health dial. Actually makes me want to this kind of brownish one to a nice, really like heavy metal black king piece. I think that would just finish the look for it. I'm hoping I find just that piece. But yeah, this is what I ended up looking for, with the cool silhouette of the king on top with the mirrored pawn on the bottom. But if you want the original card back, this is what our creator came up with. So you can always use his as well, but I will leave mine in the description, also with the pawns and the health dial art as always. So you can always check that out at the bottom. But yeah, now let's get into the deck for the king. Starting off with Lead by Example. This is an attack of 4 for the king, 3 boost, 1 copy. And this is after combat, you may move any pawns in the king's zone up to 1 space. So obviously the king's attacking, and then kind of rallies the troops of all the people in his space to also move. I think very thematic to start off with here. And also, one thing I love about the artwork here is it's not technically actual artwork as much as just really, really nice photography of chess pieces. Usually, I don't like live action pictures as our artwork. I like some illustrations, but I think this is thematic for this deck. I feel like it's so elegant in this deck. But yeah. Next here is a defense of 3 for the king, a 1 boost, 3 copies. This is Protect Your King. After combat, you may place up to 3 pawns in any empty spaces in the king's zone. I really like this because there are going to be times that you either run out of pawns or your pawns are just in different spaces and your king is left alone. This guy, you have 3 copies of this to just kind of rally the pawns back in there so that the king is protected as you would want him protected in the game of chess. That's all the cards for the kings. Moving on to our pawn cards. This is Sacrifice, a 3 attack for the pawns, 1 boost, 3 copies. This is after combat. If you lose the combat and if your fighter is not defeated, deal 1 damage to your fighter. Then deal 2 damage to 1 opposing fighter adjacent to one of your other fighters. To kind of recap that real fast is basically you want your pawn to survive, but he's going to die. So if he survives, you will then deal 1 damage to him to kill him, and if you do that, then you will deal 2 damage to 1 opposing fighter adjacent to any one of your other fighters. So you're sacrificing 1 so that your other one can attack, or potentially 1 nearby. But it's kind of nice to set up 1, attack with the other, so that one dies, and then that one deals the damage to the other one. So just like in chess, you're sort of sacrificing 1 so the other one can prevail. You get 3 of those. Next here is another versatile, or I guess our first versatile, 4 for the pawns. This is 3 boost, 3 copies. And this is checkmate, so this is the card that you will draw with that other card. After combat, deal 3 damage to the opposing fighter if he's surrounded. And that keyword surrounded is kind of what we've seen that Sun's Origin deck. We have to have at least 2 of your fighters adjacent to their fighter, so he has, he's surrounded from both sides. So he has to be surrounded, and you can deal 3 damage to the opposing fighter. And that is a versatile 4. The next here is one that we already know very well. This is Regroup, and any versatile of 1 with 1 boost, 3 copies. After combat, draw 1 card. If you won the combat, draw 2 cards instead. And honestly, I'm always happy whenever decks include Regroup. It's kind of a crappy card, but it's also, I think, a very fun card because it kind of pokes, the good cards out of your opponent's hand. It's quick, easy, replace itself, prod real fast, get that card back in your hand, and then run away. And if he doesn't defend himself and he takes the poke, you get 2 cards instead. So I think Regroup is just one of the best cards that Unmatched has, and I just love that's not too overpowered, but definitely is very useful. It's not just some filler card in your hand. Next here is any versatile of 2 with 2 boosts, 4 copies. This is Strong Deployment. Immediately add 1 to the value of this card for each of your other fighters adjacent to your fighter. So it's not adjacent to the opposing fighter, but adjacent to yours. So potentially you can have up to 3 or 4, I believe, in most matches. So that could be up to a 5 or a 6. And that's all about getting everything set up correctly at 4 of those. So it really, takes good advantage of how many pawns you have. And then next here is Connecting Pieces, the 3 versatile for any. And this is 1 boost, 3 copies. After combat, you may move up to 2 pawns, 1 spaces. So just a good 3 attack with some moving abilities there. And that's the last of our combat cards. Moving on to our schemes here. This is a scheme for any with 1 boost, 3 copies. And this is Bullet Game. Move all of your fighters up to 3 spaces and gain 1 action. So very, very strong. If you have that move of 1, which it's not going to do much, but you have so many fighters to move 1 because you get to move all of them. But this lets you move all 3 of them, or all 9 of your fighters, 3 spaces, and get an action. So not even losing any time there. You get 3 of those cards. And then next here is a scheme for any 1 boost, 2 copies, and this is Promotion. If a pawn is in any starting opponent's space, remove it from the board, and the king recovers 2 health. Love that. So you can kind of, if you're thinking that you don't need this many pawns, you can use them to, heal up that king there. And I don't think you'll ever use all 8 of them, but hey, that's 16 health. That's more than his starting health is to fully regain. But yeah, that is the king, and we can move on to my final thoughts. I think you guys already know how I feel about this deck. This one is a must for anybody making custom decks. I mean, you can go as far as I did and make it all, try to look official besides the, the actual miniature there. But this is a super easy print out deck. I mean, you can use a different health dial from a different fighter. All you need is one that has 12, so there's quite a few in Unmatched that will have that total. And then the deck, you can just print on printer paper, and then your sidekicks and your hero miniature here is just from a chess set. So it's actually very cool that you can just easily make this to have at home. I absolutely love that there are the options for these different starting hands, so your deck really changes depending on your opponent, which I feel is also thematic to chess itself, where depending on how your opponent comes at you is how you're going to change coming back at him. So it makes it a very versatile deck. And I'm just going to brag on myself here a little bit. I absolutely love how the artwork turned out. This black and white scheme through the whole entire deck is just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, if you want to make this deck for yourself, let's take a look how to do that. So starting with our hero miniature, obviously as you can tell, I just stole this from a random chest that I had in the house that I didn't care for the bits and pieces. So it's just a little plastic piece. So any type of chess set will do for that one. Next is the pawn tokens here. This is from BoardGamesMaker.com. I will leave a link in the description for this exact token. Then the artwork that I used was just a black and white image of a pawn, but I will also leave that image in the description so you can just download it, drag and drop, it'll be easy to go. Then also from Board Games Makers, where I got this guy here. This is just the 2-inch cardboard like punch out, and then I also have the artwork in the description as well as the link to this exact piece. And then this little rivet in the middle is just an extra piece that I had from other sets. They usually give you a couple extras, so make sure you save those. And then you just punch it out the middle. You will have to cut out this window yourself and the hole in the middle, but it's not too hard. You'll be able to figure it out. And then lastly here, if you want to get the artwork for the deck, because that's Unmatched.cards, and our creator today is Masquelein here. He has quite a few other decks you definitely check out. Most of them are in French, so I will warn you there. But to get them actually printed out like I have here, and also to get this card back, I will also leave the link for the back of the hero card here. Those will both be in the description. But to get these printed out, also Board Games Maker. You can get everything from BoardGamesMaker.com here. And I leave the links in the description for everything. Now I gotta go. My toast is ready.